Hey guys, and welcome to another video. This time I will tell you the runes I think you should pick from giants depending on the state of the game you're into, if you're early, mid or late game. But as I will do on every single one of the dungeons in this game, I will start by showing you the team that I use to clear it. And this is the team that I use for Giants B12, and guys, this team almost never fails me. And well, I replace Crow for this Wind Marshal cat, Naomi, and she is amazing, guys. And this team failed twice in about 2k runs, so this is a very consistent team if you have the same runes I do. Now, while we do these runs and you can see this team, I will start by talking about early game runes for Giants B12 or for Giants in general. The most important set from Giants since early game up to end game will be Swift sets. And Swift runes are all about speed. So there are two main things that you have to consider when farming giants. One is the runes that you have, and two is always looking at a rune with its maximum potential. So guys, if you look at a blue rune that has a 6 row in speed, then you should look at that as an 18 speed rune. So for instance, if you have lots of runes with 18 or more speed on slot 1, slot 3, 4, 5 or 6, then guys, if you pull a blue rune, you don't need it, you can sell it, okay? But if you are still early game or even mid game and you have to improve a certain slot, then look at a rune as its maximum roll potential. Then try to roll up to +3. If it doesn't go well, then you sell it and that's it. But don't sell a rune because it's blue, because there are plenty of blue runes that are great. Now, one thing that you have to consider in general when farming runes is the innate ability of the runes. And I will go in depth into that later on because I saved a screenshot of a rune that it's really helpful in order to explain this to you guys. Because the innate roll is like increasing one grade of the rune. It's making a blue rune into a purple rune, a purple rune into a legendary rune, and a legendary rune into a legendary plus rune. Okay? That's one more roll for you, so you should always consider that. So don't sell blue runes instantly. First, remember what you have and consider what you need, guys. That's very important, especially on early and mid game. I myself won't be keeping any blue runes, okay? But I was keeping blue runes up to a year ago. For example, I've been playing for over 4 or almost 5 years, and a year or two ago I was still keeping 6-star blue runes because some Swift sets need to be completed, and for example, a rune with +18 speed is very important. Once it's grinded, it can go up to 21, 22 or even 23, which I don't recommend using legendaries on blue runes, legendary grinds on blue runes, but sometimes you need that slot and that completes a set, and you need that monster because you need plenty of sweet sets. So guys, don't sell blue runes instantly. First, evaluate them. Okay, and now we will see a very good example of what an innate is. Here, guys, you have one of the most wanted runes ever, a slot 4 crit damage Swift rune. So guys, this rune has an innate, has attack innate, that equals to 1 more roll. And here I tried to roll speed, I failed. I went for 5 speed first and then I went for flat attack. If it had gone up to 18 speed or 17 speed or 16 speed, it will be good to keep rolling this rune because you can always enchant a sub-property that you need. Okay, you can always enchant crit rate, you can always enchant HP. So guys, a blue rune can work if you need that particular slot. Remember, you should start building your set building your Swift, your Fatal, and your Blade sets. So you have plenty of them in order to cover all the damage dealers that you need for the different parts of the game. And of course, if you're early, your needs will be to complete those particular sets and to get the slot 2, 4, and 6 with the particular stat that you need. For example, speed slot 2, crit damage slot 4, and attack slot 6, or HP slot 6. And of course, the set effect of Swift and the set effect of Blade will really help you reach the stats that you need in order to get consistent, guys. The closer you get to 100% crit rate, the closer you get to be consistent. Now guys, here you see another example. This rune, even though it doesn't have speed, it has crit rate and crit damage, so if it avoids rolling resistance, this rune can be very good for an early game damage dealer, and if it rolls 3 times into crit rate, it can be good even for late game players, because you can always enchant attack or speed or HP depending on what you need, because the enchants will always make the rune, you can shape up the rune as you need it. So a rune like this, who has one desired stat at least, you can always try to roll that stat tons of times. Here is another example. A Fatal set with HP percent isn't usually good, because on Fatal you want attack, because that's for a damage dealer based on attack. However, here, if you are looking for an HP roll with high resistance, then you can try to roll resistance there, and maybe Rune can use this kind of rune, because she doesn't need sets, she needs to be tanky and have max resistance. So always guys, consider what you have, because runes like this may be useful for particular monsters. So always keep in mind, as I told you as a main rule, keep in mind what you have in your box. Don't discard runes only because they are not the standard stats, because you may be missing out on particularly good runes. Here we have an amazing example of how an innate property can be incredibly good, and the best innates are crit rate and accuracy, and especially accuracy for particular monster. For example, if you're trying to build a crit damage Okeanos, you will need accuracy too, because you want to stun your opponent. However, you may not want to spend a roll on your rune to get the accuracy, and having an innate of 7% accuracy is huge. Now this rune can roll crit rate and can roll crit damage and be very good. If you avoid the flat HP, it can be very good, and if the last roll goes into a substat that you need, for example HP percent, then you can enchant in the speed that you need and then grind it and end up with a very good rune for a damage dealer that needs some accuracy. For example, a Raki can use accuracy as well in order to defense break, and she needs to hit hard. So innates are very important on every stage of the game. And you see this rune, even though it's purple, it will have the same amount of final rolls as a legendary rune, guys, because of that innate sub-property that is very useful. If it was flat HP, flat attack, flat defense, then it wouldn't be as useful, and you shouldn't consider that one step above of a purple rune, for example. But here we have a useful innate, and that makes a huge difference, guys. So now let's review what we learned so far. If you're early game, try to aim for sets, because a Swift set can increase the speed that you need in order to reach a certain threshold that you have to reach in order to outspeed the monsters in certain dungeons. For example, the set will mean a lot for you. Now if you're mid game and you're trying to climb into late game, then you should start looking at the stats of each of your runes, and you should always keep in your mind what you have in your box and how you can improve that. Okay, and remember, the innates are very important. Now if you're late game, then you should be more picky with your runes. For instance, this particular rune that you're looking at right now, will be useful up to the end game, guys, because if this were to roll 3 times into speed, it will be a very good rune for RTA or for anything, because it has 3 desirable stats. Now, what are desirable stats? Well, those are the stats that you want in a rune. So if you're aiming to build a damage dealer, this particular rune, being a swift rune, having speed as you want, because if you have swift it's because you need speed, and having crit damage and having attack has 3 desirable stats. So depending on what you have in that slot and how high the rolls are in this rune, it may be very good, or in my case it didn't roll well and I had to sell it because I don't need that particular rune. The attack and the crit damage are not what I'm looking for, and for this particular rune, in my case, I'm only looking for triple speed rolls. But always keep in mind what you have in your box. Now we will look at some of the results of some rounds of 10 runs, and I will tell you what I sell from my own runs. We are after a run, a set of 10 runs, and we have the rewards, and we will see which runes we can keep and we can sell depending on the stage of the game we are into. So if we are early game, then this rune with defense percent, with HP innate and crit rate there, may be useful if we need to use a monster that has defense as their basic stat. For example, a copper or a bulldozer. Okay, but this is a blue rune, so it's only for early game, guys. Okay, and if it rolls on crit rate, in my case I will sell it instantly. Here we have accuracy and we have speed, so if we are early game and we need speed slot 6, then we can try to roll this into at least, it can go up to 16 speed actually. So if it goes up to 16, then you keep it. If it doesn't, then you sell it. In my case, I will sell it instantly, and that's only for early game. Now, this rune is awful whichever state of the game you're into, because slot 2, flat, no thanks. Now here we have another different rune that has accuracy innate, which is great, is a despair rune, and has HP and crit rate. Now for early game, again, if you still need to build your despair sets, then you can keep runes like this one. And if you're early game, of course, you may not be able to do B12 yet, so this is a good way to start building the teams that you need to go into B12. In my case, I would sell it instantly, and if you're mid-game, this rune is not good for you. Now here, nothing to see here. Flat stat, slot 4, remember that slot 2, 4, and 6, all the even slots are the ones that can have percentage. Slot 2 can have speed, which is the most important thing stat in that state, in that slot, and slot 4 can have crit damage and crit rate, and slot 6 can have accuracy or resistance as particular stats. Now we're selling this one. Now this one we will sell it, doesn't matter what part of the game you're into. This one's good. This one I will roll, and I may keep it. So I'm late to endgame, actually I'm endgame, but I will keep it anyway, because you always need a good slot 2 speed swift rune. Those are rare and you need them, and if I roll accuracy it will be great, if I roll crit rate it will be great, if I roll defense, well, it won't be so good, but I will keep it anyway. And that's my baby girl by my side talking. Okay, here this I will sell this instantly because it's a blade rune, and on blade runes we want offensive stats like crit rate, crit damage, attack, maybe HP and defense as well, but this one has neither of those. And for this one, that's HP percent slot 6, and it has accuracy, it has attack, and it has flat defense, but has defense percent innate. So basically, guys, if you have this kind of rune and you're early or mid game, then you should evaluate if you already have this kind of slot in your rune, within your runes, and if you don't, then you can enchant speed into this rune and make it be a very good one. Now we are back here. So guys, I myself will sell this rune, but again, if you are early, mid, or even late game, you may keep this rune, roll it, and if it rolls good, for example on accuracy, which can be good for this pair set, because I know this pair is not based on accuracy. However, you may have a monster that does AoE effects that can use that accuracy, then this rune could be good. And if you can enchant speed in it, then it can be a nice rune. So I will sell it. And this is it for this round of 10. Guys, now I will show you my Beramos, and you will see why the 2-piece sets are very important and can help you reach the stats that you need. And you don't need a 4-piece set like Fatal, like Swift or Rage, if you can get those stats out of different sets. And here you have my Baru has double blade and has endurance set, and my Beramos has very good stats and is very useful. It's a very useful monster and doesn't have a particular set because I was aiming to reach a certain speed, a certain crit damage, and a certain attack. Now moving on to another round of 10. Here, this rune, you will sell it most of the time. This one you can roll, guys. This one you can try to get crit rate, and that HP percent will be very good too. I will sell it because I don't need that particular one. This one, if you are early game, you can try to roll speed because you should start building your Swift sets. In this case, this is what we talked about earlier. This is the same rune that we saw before. This has an innate accuracy stat and it's very good. Very good. I myself won't roll it because I don't need it. Now this blue rune, this is not useful any stage of the game because it's fatal. Now this one you can roll, and guys, there's one thing that you should consider. Until you build several high speed runes, you should try to roll every rune that has speed, so you can reach over the 20 speed threshold on each of your rune slots, because you will need them to complement your Swift set, because your Swift is a 4-piece set and the other two can be any set, can be broken, and should have as much speed as you can get. Here it rolls speed, and even though I already have plenty of 22 base speed and more, I want to keep rolling it because I don't know when I should build 5, 6, 7 attack bar boosters. In fact, I do have over 5 attack bar boosters, and here I roll speed again, so I will keep rolling it and see if I get speed. If I don't get another roll into speed, then I will sell it because I don't have any use for a fatal rune with 15 speed. And it roll HP, so I will sell this rune. But guys, always remember that you should keep the ones that have speed, which is very important in order to build your attack bar boosters. Now this rune is very good if you need to build something like a Vigor, for example, and you are early game. I don't have any use for that, and you don't either. Now guys, for the last part, this is what I wanted to show you. You see this rune? This rune you should roll. Even though it's flat, you should roll it, unless you're like myself who has tons of 22 or more base speed runes on that slot. Guys, remember to roll those runes. And to finish, guys, I want to show you this particular rune. This is a blue rune with innate, and the sub properties are very good, and it's not even enchanted. So I could enchant, for instance, defense percent here, and this rune will be incredibly good for damage dealer like Tosi in order to make it more tanky or anything else. Guys, this rune is very good, even though it's blue, and I use it on my Tosi in order to reach the speed that I need, because that monster gets a huge benefit from a Swift set because of its high base speed. And I will show you its stats here. You see, it's plus 171, making it 291 speed. and he deals damage, guys. He has 90% crit rate. So guys, those things are very important. And remember, blue runes can be good and can be used by an endgame player like myself. Okay, so guys, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. And if you like this guide, then leave a thumbs up and subscribe. It will help me a lot. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.